Hi, everybody. My name is Charmaine. I'm your marriage coach, and my specialty is working with couples, helping them to communicate better, practice skills that will help them communicate better so that they can have more intimacy, more passion, so that they can rebuild trust, and so that they can have the kind of life that they desire. I had a couple this evening, and one of the things that came up was gentleness. Gentleness. I think this is like so awesome because when we are in conflict, there is this desire to get to the end. I want to get to the end. I want to get to the resolution. I want to win. But gentleness is a road and a path that can be taken that will eventually lead to the end, but puts the focus on the journey. What is the journey? What is the path that you're taking to get to a resolution? If you are fighting, if you are saying unkind things to each other, if you are defensive, if you are trying to protect yourself or protect your values or protect your thinking, you know, and you're not really thinking about the other person, you're really not considering the other person. Now, I want to say a disclaimer. This disclaimer is for two healthy people. This is not for people who are gaslighting each other. This is not for people who are lying to each other, who are cheating on each other, who are, dealing with all kinds of madness and you're trying to talk to people and they're not being authentic and they're not being honest. This is not for you. This is for two people who are genuinely struggling with the way they communicate with each other. They love each other. They have no desire to get divorced. They want to stay together, but they're just having trouble communicating. And one of the things I'd like to suggest to you in this video is think about gentleness. Think about being gentle. And what is that? It's the quality of being kind, tender, light. Um, it could be demonstrated with a gentle touch. Let me give you an example. You're in a heated conversation, you're not being understood, or the other person is saying, "You just don't understand what I'm saying." Do you know how powerful a touch could be on the arm or on the hand to say, "Then help me understand"? You may be right. I may be missing this. I may be totally out of left field with my responses. I'm going to take a moment and not try to defend my position right now. Right now, I want to hear what you have to say. One of the questions I asked my couple this evening was, when you are in conflict, when you are trying to make a decision, when you are trying to get to a desired result, how much time do you generally have to make this decision? And so one of them said between 24 and 72 hours. And so I said, okay, on an average, can we say 48? And so they said yes. And I said, if you have 48 hours to make a decision, if this conversation is not a conversation, it has to be decided right at this moment. And you actually have 48 hours to come to a resolution, to come to a decision. That's 48 hours that you don't necessarily have to be in conflict, but it could be 48 hours, and not even the total 48 hours. It could be just a couple minutes of practicing gentleness in the midst of a heated argument. I'm talking to you from somebody who has experienced horrible communication in my marriage. And there was a whole plethora of reasons. But because my husband and I, we wanted to work on it because we loved each other, because we were told early on in our premarital counseling that we were the kind of people that wouldn't get divorced. But if we didn't learn to communicate, we wouldn't be happy. And so the first half of our marriage, and we've been married for 15 years, the first half of our marriage, we struggled. until we started to want to communicate more than we wanted to win, more than we wanted to prove a point. And yes, sometimes it took one of us to give in more than the other in certain areas. It took one of us to teach the other how to be gentle, how to be kind. And sometimes in relationships, you have to mirror what you want to see. You have to mirror what you want to see. And so this short conversation that I'm bringing to you tonight or today, wherever you may be, is about gentleness. It's about showing kindness. It's about using the opportunity to touch someone physically to demonstrate that I care. And not just someone. I'm not talking about somebody at work. You don't want to touch people at work. But your marriage, in your marriage, your husband or your wife, you want to demonstrate that you care. And sometimes when we are striving so hard to prove a point and striving so hard to be heard and be seen and be validated, we forget that we're not dealing with our enemy. We're dealing with our friend. We're dealing with somebody who has volunteered to be on our team and who we have volunteered to be on their team. And so when we're struggling to come to a resolution, sometimes we got to look within. And this whole journey that I'm talking about, this is a journey. It takes time. It takes practice. It takes intentionality. But in the meantime, just the simple act of kindness, even in the midst of conflict, can turn the tide. And even if it doesn't turn at that moment, it can begin to turn the tide. So I want to challenge you to practice gentleness in the midst of a conversation and let it be followed by a gentle touch. And listen, it's not easy to reach out and touch people when you are angry, when you're upset, when your point is not being heard. But maybe if you take a step back, that's my suggestion. Take a step back from all of the high, intense emotion that follows conflict. And maybe a kind word to say, baby, I'm not your enemy. And I want to understand. So help me understand your point. Help me understand what you're trying to tell me. And having that attitude with a touch on the shoulder or a rub on the shoulder or a touch on the cheek or a maybe a hug is a way that we can practice gentleness in the midst of conflict. So why don't you try it? Let me know how it works out for you. And see you in the next video. This is Charmaine, your marriage coach. And look, if you like what I'm saying, if it resonates with you, I want you to like, I want you to subscribe, and please share. Have a wonderful life.